It was ready to go. I just wind it, hit the pendulum, and here we are. So I don't know what kind of sign that is. I'm taking it as a positive thing. So that's how I started my day here Sunday morning. So this is the first Sunday of May, and we have gorgeous flowers on the altar this morning. Daffodils are coming in. Thank you, Lee, from your garden. I brought a few in from my mother's flower garden. So today is Beltane, and we're going to be celebrating after the service. There's a lot going on today. So the sequence is going to be Sunday morning service. The Beltane pole is in the back of the church. We're not going to be using it today outdoors. We're going to do a little ceremony indoors, downstairs, after our regular coffee hour. And then there's going to be a potluck afterwards. So that is our sequence of events for this morning. So I'm pretty excited. There's a lot going on. I'm glad you folks are here. Our prelude this morning is by a group called Boogaloo. They are a quartet based out of Melbourne, Australia. Boogaloo plays funk and vintage soul with a bit of surrealism mixed in. And the title of this is One Hand, One Bounce. And this reminds me of the Zen riddle. What is the sound of one hand clapping? Okay. So, I'm not going to say too much about that right now. We'll talk about it later in the service. For now, just listen to our prelude. Notice the percussion, perhaps. Just listen and settle into the space of this moment. In our moment of centering silence, Let us be mindful and alert to the here and now. Let us sit calmly, breathe, and listen to the sound of the singing bowl. We're going to light our chalice this morning. Nancy would assist, please. We light the chalice today for the new morning, for the new light, and for new thoughts on how to live this day. We light this small flame. So today we're continuing our talk on earth care. And this morning's opening words are looking at EarthVision as we move forward to visualize our role in the world, our part in the world, and as the world just keeps moving so quickly and spinning forward. These words are by Rebecca Solnit. In spite of our difficulties, the world will not stop being beautiful, not stop having sunrises and full moons, light pouring through the clouds. And while some places may be scarred or drowned and seem for a time lifeless, in others, seeds will break through soil, flowers will bloom, birds will soar, new life will be born, and babies will learn to walk. Yes, the climate crisis will not end suddenly. It's a long haul. And equipping yourself to keep going means finding what feeds your heart and your soul. Indigenous plant scientist Robin Wall Kimmerer says, even a wounded world is feeding us. Even a wounded world holds us and gives us moments of joy and wonder. I choose joy over despair. Not because I have my head in the sand, but because joy is what the earth gives me daily, and I must return the gift. Our opening song is number 188. So this song is done in a round, usually divided into two parts. And as I'm looking at our crowd this morning, even if I join this side over on your left, we're going to be outnumbered. Do you think we can pull it off? Yes. Okay, so how does it work? We're going to sing through one time in unison. And then group one, you will sing. I'll cue in group two. And we're going to sing it through 2 times as a round. That's how we're going to approach this. So let us sing, and I'll give you a chord. story this morning, a time for the child in us all. So, if few of you want to head this direction, closer down front, to help me out, I'm going to get my hat and we'll get started. If you can round them up, Joshua. You can join us if you want, Joshua. I've got this hat on again. So during the eclipse, we had visitors that came to Union Colton, and a couple of visitors were from Rockland. So in the mail this week, I got a package in the mail from Rockland. I opened it up, and I received this note. My friend, I'd like to introduce you to Roman Parsley Elderwood. I think he might be related to ceremonial noodle hat you were wearing during the eclipse. So it seems fitting for the two of them to be together. He is a good chap. So he is in the little lunchbox. So this is Roman Parsley Elderwood. And this is the first time that he's seen my hat. And you can see why if they look like they could be related. Okay. So Roman, he doesn't talk. You can't hear him. He uses his antenna, okay, to communicate. Or if you listen really closely, maybe you can hear what Roman has to say. But with the noodle hat on, I can interpret what Roman is saying this morning. Okay. He just said, hello. Nice to meet you. Okay. So, so it was a long trip from Rockland. He wants to hang out here. He's going to be living in this lunchbox in my filing cabinet with the noodle hat. It's a nice place to hang out in the office downstairs. So it's like he heard all about what was going on here at Eclipse Rock and the events going on during the eclipse. And so he wanted to come and hang out in Holton. So the other question, Roman wants to know what you like, what you really love, things you love. Okay, food. What kind of food? Claire? Spicy food. Oh, Roman says he loves spicy food too. Okay. What else you guys? Anybody else? What do you really like? What do you love?
Chocolate.
Chocolate? Okay. Roman's had chocolate too. Anything else you guys? She likes penguins. Okay. And one more. For anybody out here, you can also yell something that you folks like.
A long day at work.
A long day at work. Okay. Anything else out there?
Trees.
Trees. Okay.
Great outdoors.
Well, Rowan has some of his favorite things that he packed with him in his lunchbox and brought from Rockland. So, can you hear that?
Yeah.
Take a look and tell me what you see in the lunchbox.
Bee.
kinds of buttons. Rowan is a button collector, cannot get enough. Okay? So there's big ones, there's small ones, all different colors. So what the message is from Rowan says, love what you love and share what you love. Okay? To make the world just a brighter, better place. So what we're going to do, Rowan, let me give you, take a couple of buttons. I have a lunchbox. The Rowan has so many of these, you can't use them all. There's lots of buttons in there. Okay. During the offering, we're going to pass Rowan's lunchbox around in case anyone else wants to pick up a button today. So the message is, love what you love and share what you love. Okay? Thanks, you guys. We'll see you later. During our offertory this morning, the Pishka is on the back table. Please feel free to get up and contribute for local needs in our community as well as our own congregation. There's several jars on the back table. You'll see a building fund jar, FOFO jar, Friends of Frisbee Organ, and the offering plate we will be circulating. If I think Christoph, you could be our usher for us this morning. And Joshua, if you could assist on the lunchbox to take around the lunchbox from Rowan's with his buttons. We are going to share those. And see what the Mowo is going on this weekend as well. It's just a packed seasonal weekend. So I looked at trying to find some Cinco de Mayo music online. And I came up with Brazilian music that I really liked, samba, but it wasn't quite Cinco de Mayo. So what we've got is a band I've never heard of before. It's pronounced Mocean Worker. The first album was called It's Pronounced Motion. I've never seen this kind of tricky word. So, turns out he's a Berkeley School of Music graduate from Boston, Adam Dorn. His material appears in NPR Productions. And this is titled Cinco de Mowo by Mocean Worker. It's got a nice little horn section. So that's going to be our offertory for today. The plate is up. We found the plate this time. Let us give the hearts of gladness, and please take a bite. still have buttons left? Okay, I'm gonna need one too, save one for me. Well, you may have noticed why the music died out in the middle of the song momentarily. A phone call was coming in on my smartphone.
What thing this time?
So when you try to do too many things with one device. Well, Jerry didn't even look, he just stuck his hand in the lunchbox and just wanted to draw. Did you get one, Joshua?
Oh, no, she
Okay. So this is part 8 out of 10 on our year-long study series, Earth Care. Today our topic is EarthVision, looking back and looking ahead regarding climate-related issues and exploration of perspectives, historic timeframe perspectives and personal perspectives. Of course, the difficulty with taking a look at perspectives is everyone has a different perspective. And the more people you happen to have in the same room, the more perspectives you have in the same room. So this should be interesting. Actually, this is what Joey's been talking about and Randy has been talking about. So this is kind of a continuation. As one comedian once said, selective memory worked 5 times out of 5 times for me last week. So all I ask is go ahead and make this work for you. EarthVision is a term similar to Earth Care that we've been using through the year. The perspective, understanding, or vision you have of the Earth will affect your actions or impact you have on the Earth. In today's study reading on the support page, Adrienne Marie Brown said that imagination is like a muscle that needs to be exercised. Imagination is a muscle that for many of us will atrophy if we don't use it, especially under the pressure of constant fear. Fear and imagination often can't be in the same room. I think you have to be dosing yourself with pleasure on a regular basis to maintain hope. All along your life, you will find the small pleasures that keep you in touch with what life actually feels like and help you slip under the lie that we're in a total crisis and there's nothing good happening anywhere. So you do have to use your imagination. You have to have vision, or in this case, how we're framing it, EarthVision. So what I'd like to present is a historic timeline model related to the current climate crisis. And just so you know, there's only 3 points on the timeline, so this should be quick and not too painful. Date number 1 is 1870, the year my grandfather was born, George Hutchinson Sr. He took a train to Leadville, Colorado in 1892 to work in the mines. This is generally regarded as the early years of the current climate crisis. 1.5 degrees Celsius, or translated 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit, is considered the climate threshold, or shorthand, for global average surface warming of 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial temperatures. And this is the level of warming that countries signed on to the Paris Agreement several years ago to maintain that number below 1.5 moving forward. Date number 2, 1910, the year my father was born, George Hutchinson, Jr. He remembered the first gasoline-powered car that arrived in downtown Monticello. He also saw the transition from horse-powered to mechanized farming in northern Maine. Date number 3, 2024. I'm reading the New York Times a month ago. David George Hutchinson, my middle name carries the family line, and a Chinese car show unveiled the first electric cars for under $10,000. 130 miles per hour, 250-mile range per charge, 80% charge capacity in 30 minutes. 4 different Chinese car manufacturers, aligned 7 to 8 models, available in China and Asia markets. Dr. Mark Horvath is going to deliver a lecture in 2 weeks, part 9 of the series. And the title of this talk is What a Fossil Fuel-Free World Would Look Like in 30 Years. So this time span, we've looked at this as roughly 150-year span, essentially the fossil carbon fuel era. It seems like a long time, yet viewed with a larger perspective, it's a relatively short period of time, cosmically speaking. Time and history is an underrated, yet very interesting, enlightening perspective to explore. In a 150-year span in just my own family, we're looking at this era of significant change and that we're noticing now and dialoguing about. So I'd like to read a section from the essay of Not Too Late. In 1974, as in almost any time, few could see what was beginning. The way tiny seeds germinate underground, that ideas travel from margin to center, from outraged reaction to widespread acceptance. From rights campaign to established law, the way germinated seeds would crack the surfaces that once seemed solid and stable. Politicians and a lot of ordinary people assumed the future would be some kind of increase, improvement, or decline of what was clearly visible in the present. But the invisible and overlooked always matters. Which invites the question of what we, in 2024, do not see that future eras will. The present is always a place that was unimaginable at some point in the past. If 2024 was unimaginable in 1974, so was 1974 in 1924. This can equip us to recognize that the unimaginability of 2074 does not prove it is impossible. From that perspective, we are always living in a wild future, a future sometimes inconceivably better, sometimes unimaginably worse, but usually both, from the vantage point of even the recent past. And it's a reminder that these futures that became the present were made by our actions and inactions. At best, by notable individuals, but also by communities, movements, newly framed constituencies, by public engagement, by people who worked toward what seemed at first impossible, then unlikely, and then one day became the order of things. By ideas that appeared small on the margins, like mammals in the age of dinosaurs, like seedlings on forest floor, like misfit children, and then grew to become mighty themselves. Just a couple of historic markers. When I look back over this 150-year period, Earth Day 1970, which we celebrated and discussed a couple of weeks ago, 54 years ago, changed the way we viewed ourselves and our world and planet. Star Wars, 1977, A New Hope. It was just called Star Wars at that point. 47 years ago, changed the way that we viewed movies, special effects, and our own galaxy. And thirdly, Inconvenient Truth. Al Gore's 2006 film, almost 20 years ago, which we viewed in our basement. And at the time, remember marking that this will be a conversation starter for years moving forward. And make it in 20 years, but at this point, we're seeing headlines every day, conversations on talk shows, stand-up comedians, scientists, the world community discussing, well, as we lit candles this morning, it just keeps coming up in every aspect of our daily lives, no matter what country you might be in. So there's science fiction has value, and I also what's called science nonfiction. And this is where the scientists come in. You know, the research, the work, the arts, the entertainment, the lectures, and the work and action. So those are the historic markers. And what I'd like to shift to now is, which is just as important, perhaps more important, is the personal marker of where you are at right now. I call this the POR, or point of reference. And this is your particular embodiment, whatever age group or category you're in, with your life backstory, or multiple lifetimes, however you want to figure that cosmic calculus. But it's your point of view, your perspective, your life experience, and your emotions of how are you sizing all of this up in your own life moving forward. So don't miss that. This is the most relevant part of, I think, what we're talking about in this climate study issue of Earth Care and EarthVision. It's like, what is your experience and your contribution towards this? Each generation has one, or sometimes more than one, critical issue or crisis that defines the generation. And I always was looking as younger, what might that issue be in my lifespan? It would reach that kind of size, import, and clarity. And it appears there's several going on at one time, but the climate crisis is this movement that is defining our current generation and looking towards the future. So number one is that do your part. Discover what that is, whatever it might be. You have to figure that out. And number two, is to live it and do it fully. 100%. And to do it, whatever that work, hard work might be, to do it with joy, with love, with coherence, of trying to make some sense of these pieces and what to do and how to move forward. And with integrity, of doing it with the sincerity, with all that you can pull together, but that to not contradict what you know and what you see in your actions, which is, those incongruencies are difficult to, sometimes we're not even aware of those incongruencies. Don't always play it safe. You may have to do something with a certain level of risk assessment moving ahead. We just don't know. And you don't know, and won't know until it happens, what is required of you. Essentially, be ready and available to simply do your part. So back to the karate boogaloo, the one hand, one bounce. For riddle, what is the sound of one hand clapping? During coffee hour, if you want to talk to me about cracking that or answering that riddle, please do. But for now, this is actually a basic teaching. It's a little confusing at first, but it's a direct reminder and teaching that we are not separate, but we are connected, interrelated, and interconnected to everything and everyone. It's got one hand, one bounce. Connects, it hits everything with one hand, one bounce. In our UU tradition, it's the seventh principle, recognition of the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. In non-dual philosophy, it is directly experiencing the all, or the source from which all things arise and interact. It is one without a second. In the New England Transcendentalist tradition, it's going beyond the small self to the universal self, the oversoul, establishing an original relation to the universe or nature itself. It's a connecting of the heart and the head, not just knowing something as information, but feeling it in your very being. The love, connection, emotion, deep feeling. On Friday afternoon, I went down to the cabin and sat on the sun on the porch next to the river. The sun was shining. It was 62 degrees, warmest day thus far. And you could hear the sound of water flowing over rocks heading downstream towards New Brunswick, towards Newfoundland. Total isolation. No one was around. I knew the larger world was out there, and everything included with that, but for this moment, it was nothing but the beginning and warmth of spring around me, fresh air, birds, no bugs, and the blazing sun overhead. For me, this one spot in the world is my spot. As the world spins, it stays on this spot for me. That's my POR, geographical location. As I look out my eyeballs, as I breathe in the smells of this particular place, and everything that it triggers in my mind as I'm breathing in, from years ago, from my childhood, my father and grandfather on that same land. I am completely connected to it. It isn't even something you can describe with words or write about in a notebook. It just is in that direct experience of it. When I think of complex problems out there and possible outcomes and the impossibilities of it all, it's hard not to feel that moments in nature like this are a luxury, or that I'm incredibly fortunate or privileged when others face such hardships. But I think each of us need moments like this in some version that makes us glad and appreciative to be living on this amazing planet in this particular time. I certainly don't want to dismiss or take for granted the wonder of this life in all of its forms and expressions. Life is full of utmost value, even when times are difficult or not quite going as planned. It's all a matter of perspective. Love what we love and share what we love. I'd like to close with one more reading by Rebecca Solon. The future is a night in which we cannot see far. We can only navigate it by looking to the past, where we can count our victories, learn from our defeats, measure change, and see how power grows and imagination shifts. This is as true of the climate movement as of anything. The movement has grown, achieved extraordinary things, improved the possibilities, awoken the world. There's still as far to go, but these accomplishments should fortify our confidence to continue. If you're worried that it's too late to do anything about climate change and that we should all just give up, I have great news for you. That day is not coming in your lifetime. As long as you have breath in your body, you will have work to do. And now, as we extinguish the chalice, may our lives be reflections of beauty, peace, and joy that is still possible in this world. And may the love we find in this place sustain us as we go our separate ways. Let us go on with our day. It is good to have been.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. If you'd like to show your support, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel if you're not already subscribed, and help us out by sharing this message by clicking the share button. If you'd like to make a monetary donation to the UU Church Holton, there is a link to our online donations in the video description down below. And again, thank you so much and have a blessed day.